Welcome to Leaders and Learners. My name is Tanya McKenzie, and you can find me at the intersection of public relations and leadership. Join us as we talk to organizational leaders, elected officials, experts, authors, artists, and personalities, sharing their stories, talking about how they got to where they are and how they continue to learn and lead the way. So without further ado, let's get into it. Well, greetings, good people. Good to have you back at another edition of Leaders and Learners. And today, I promise I will have someone that's going to teach you something very cool about resilience and the power of being a problem solver. I think we don't talk about that enough. How do you enter into a field as someone that can position yourself as an expert in that field based on the knowledge that you already have and being able to solve a problem in the industry? Today, I'm bringing you this awesome guy. His name is Courtney, and he started his own firm during COVID. So a lot of you that we still continue to have conversations about people that kind of struggle still to recover from COVID. We've had brunches where we bring business leaders together to find ways to dig yourself out of this hole that COVID kind of put you in. But there are people that really learn to not just survive, but thrive and be a blessing to others during that time and moving forward. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring him in. Mr. Herb Courtney, how are you today?
Good, Tanya. How are you?
Blessed to have you here. I want you to get right into it. Let the people know about Renaissance Search Firm. And I don't know, if you want to share something about yourself, that's fine too. But we're going to talk about this firm.
No, absolutely. Well, thank you again for having me here. And Renaissance Search Consulting, I founded it in February of 2020. So literally right before the pandemic. And then the pandemic hit and, it kind of changed things. And, for us at Renaissance, we are a search firm that specializes more on the executive level in hiring, but making sure there is intentionality with diversity, equity, inclusion, putting and implementing best practices to make sure there's an equitable process, so obviously when the pandemic hits, people aren't hiring. So you have to kind of figure out ways to stay relevant. It's a new business. We kind of focus across multiple industries, but, my passion is in sports. I was a former D1 basketball player. I played professionally. So, and I was a college basketball coach. And for me, I've always been passionate about sports. So, during that time to continue to build, during COVID, I always say the best time to sell someone or something is when you can't sell it to them, right? And so during COVID, people aren't hiring, and so you're really having conversations about people, the business challenges. It kind of humanizes it a little bit when you're not coming off as a salesperson, right? And so I was able to use that time to really have some really deep rooted conversations and just getting to know people. And so when you start from that standpoint, the relationship continues to build and it gets established. And, you have conversations that just aren't focused around, hey, what can I do for you? How can I help support? So we did that for a few months, and that helped me really just slow down, because when you do start a business, you have a million different things you're trying to do and accomplish. But, COVID for those first 2 or 3 months really made me slow down, really make sure my business plan was right. Just think about other ideas and how we need to really show up in some of these industries. And so, I really took that time to kind of refine things. And then you get the murder of George Floyd and Breonna, Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery. And, so we have this huge social, movement going on in the States. And, timing is everything. And for us, we, in terms of a firm, there are really not a lot of firms that really specialize in DEI and things like that. So when companies are looking, hey, how can we hire better? How can we be more equitable in the process? How, that's what we do, right? So I think we were able to really capture that moment and provide, be that, subject matter expert into providing, services for organizations and institutions alike.
Well, let me ask you this. What I've learned, well, what I've noticed is after the George Floyd situation took place, many companies and organizations got very active in
Yeah.
DEI. Got, very active, and they wanted to implement all these wonderful programs, and they start spending money with D&I organizations, and it's a little quiet out there right now.
Hmm.
So I think you started at a pivotal time, and that's great. I want to find out from you, how is that going now? How have you continued to elevate the necessity of diversity in organizations? And why do you think it even died out? I call it performative. That's, me and my PR people, but I'm sure you have some creative terms for that also.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that was, maybe I'm a pessimist, or I thought there was a shelf life, right? To how companies, put up DEI and how important it was, and investing money. And, people always say, is it a moment or is it a movement? Right. And I always thought it was probably going to be more of a moment. Just looking at our past as a country. So, I think, for us, it was, there's obviously a lot of education involved, with these companies. But I think the biggest thing is really shifting business leaders' minds to DEI being a social cause, to it's a financial cause, right? Like, there's proven facts out there that the more diverse your organization is, the more reach that you'll have, the more innovation that you'll have, and that's going to impact your bottom line, right? So, it's a good financial decision at the end of the day, right? And I think a lot of people view it as an ESG goal, or just something, a social impact goal, and it is both. But as a business leader, it behooves you to have diversity within your workforce, because it definitely impacts your bottom line.
It seems like you've taken your brand of mm, being a sports figure, an athlete, what you did in the sports world, to this business. You transitioned what you're doing, what you're delivering, but the brand of service seems to be the same. Tell us a little more about that, your personal brand, and how you're able to kind of blend that into this organization that you built.
Yeah. I think, when I started, it was just me, right? So Renaissance Search Consulting is pretty synonymous with Herb Courtney. And big picture, I wanted to, have my organization, Renaissance, right? To be viewed as innovative, dynamic, high level integrity, all the things I want to stand for, right? And the things that we practice, but have it from an organizational view. And the whole Renaissance team embodies that. And, that's kind of honestly been one of my bigger challenges, right? It's, hey, how can I take a step back, where I don't need to be at every event or lead every panel or lead every search, but knowing that my team, the Renaissance team, you're going to get that same level of service, attention, to the projects and the searches that we do. So, in the beginning, obviously, it's very important to kind of have that integrated. What my personal values are, this, my why. I think knowing your why is super important, and your purpose, and having that align with your organization. And then it's my job as the leader to hire people that embody those principles and values, and the mission that we want to accomplish, not just in the sports world, but across multiple industries. So, that is kind of how I've been able to kind of integrate all those together, and being super audible ready. Some people call it your elevator pitch, but your elevator pitch can be so generic, right? When you're trying to think about, hey, tell me about yourself. But if I think you can really kind of approach it with your why and hire that way, and have your organization really embody that, then I think you can make a difference, and kind of build your brand that way.
What do you think to this day is one of the most impactful placements that you've made, or one of the most impactful things that your organization has done since you've started?
Yeah, there's a couple that comes to mind. So, at Morgan State University, we placed the first African American female athletic director. There, we placed a front office executive for the Mavericks. One of the, there's not a lot of female front office executives in the NBA. We're very proud of that. So there's things like that where I know we're making a difference at the highest levels. Black women especially are probably the most, disenfranchised group in the world, right? So I think to be able to really support them, and give them access to opportunities, and kind of being that bridge is really important for me. And along with other, underrepresented groups, but especially women of color, I think that's something I'm very passionate about. And when we're able to do groundbreaking searches, when we're placing the first woman here or there, I think that's really cool, and important, and something I'm passionate about.
Why? Why is that it? So I have to ask you, because I don't know if you watched Trevor Noah. He signed off the other night, and people have been retweeting and reposting his comment, which was, you know, um, Black women can't afford to f around. We do get the tail end of it, but not everyone sees that, right?
Hmm.
Also, there are times when people that look like you get into top tier positions and tend to not um, lift up for
Yeah.
whatever reason,
Yeah.
right? No judgment there. They might just want the best person. You are saying that you make a valid effort to do this. And I want you to explain to people why, because there's still a very large amount of pushback on that, right? There's a lot of pushback on that. The things that you are seeing, others don't. Why is that important to you? I want you to talk to the audience and tell them why that is so important to you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, my family, it starts with your family. My mom, my sister. My sister is an executive, and I kind of see, what she has gone through in her corporate journey to get to where she is, and just being in different organizations, whether it isn't on the sports side or is in the corporate side. Women of color, especially Black women, they are viewed and treated differently. And I've seen it firsthand, and I don't think it's right, and if I can help, um, you know, bridge that gap, now I'm going to do it. And I want to do it. And I think, Black women are very misunderstood, right? I think if you're direct, it's like, that's she's the angry Black woman, right? And it's just such a double edge, right? Like how people view Black women, and just because you're strong, and you know what you want, and you're a strong leader, they typecast you differently. And like I said, it's not. I'm just very passionate about that. More importantly, because of my sister, right? And what she's a CFO of a nonprofit in Philly, and she worked for PwC for a number of years, and some other organizations, and me and her are very close, and I see it, right, and I just so that is my why, and why I'm passionate about that.
We are a culmination of our experiences.
Hmm.
And a lot of what comes out of that, emotionally, physically, drives us to do the things that we do next,
Yeah.
drives us to make the decisions that we make. What are some of the things that have you've experienced that have driven you to this point in your life?
No, absolutely. That's a great question. For me, my personal experience, especially my journey in corporate America and in coaching, being, one of very few people of color in a room, especially the higher up you go, the less diverse it is. How we hire, especially in athletics, right? Sports is so diverse. You look at, certain sports, basketball, men's and women's basketball, football, it's predominantly African American, right? But if you look at coaches, you look at GMs, you look at presidents, ownership groups, they don't reflect that. And I've always had an issue with, why can't we as a people have access to the highest levels within industries, right? And thinking about it, it's like, hey, if the amount of people that I know and the network I've been able to amass over my years in this work, in this space, I know I can leverage that and bring people up, right? And my biggest thing is, CEOs and presidents and however high up you want to go, they have a very tight social network. And one of the many reasons why there's just not a lot of diversity at the top is because they don't know any people of color, right? So if I can be that conduit, right, and expand their social networks with individuals that are very high level, high performing achievers, and I know if they got in front of them, or I was able to bridge that, I know that could make a difference. And so that is kind of my lens of what I see is like, hey, there's a lot of change that needs to be made personally in my professional journey. I wish I had an entity or an organization that could really help me bridge that gap when I was in that kind of part of my career. Now that I've kind of left that and I'm on this side of it, I know I can help, right? And I tell people all the time, like, I may not be able to get you a job, but I can always help you, right? And I think the social capital, your network, is so important, and people don't talk about that enough. And that's where decisions gets made. Those how policies get changed. If you're in the political space, like, you need to be in a certain level and to be able to interface at that level to really get things done. So I want to help with that.
All right. So you said something important. You said, I know that I can make a difference there. You're not trying to save the world.
Right.
It sounds like you're trying to make things better. I always say, leave things better than you got them. Mm-hmm. One decision, one placement at a time.
Absolutely.
I had an experience. I've done some work with our local police department here. One of our captains, good friend of mine, has become a good friend of mine just based on open and honest conversation. And we talked about exactly what you are speaking of, which is, if I have an opportunity and I'm going to leverage it for those that I feel need it the most. I like that.
Thank you.
However, there are those that feel like, I'm qualified, I'm a good person, I want you to succeed, but I don't want to not succeed because someone feels like you deserve a chance over me. Mm-hmm. I've been discriminated against. There are times when I've walked in a room, because he doesn't look like me, of course, and I felt some type of way because of the things they were saying to me, because I didn't look like them.
Yeah.
So I want you to talk to me about, when you do have others that don't look like us, that are highly qualified, that do deserve the opportunity, what does that decision look like for you? What does that moment in time look like for you? How do you make the world a better place when you have those types of decisions in front of you?
Yeah. I mean, the good thing about what I do is, like, it doesn't just have to be one person, right? It can be people across, that look like me, that don't look like me, right? I think it starts with the relationship, right? Mm. For me, if I know you and we have a relationship, whether you're black, white, or whatever ethnicity, gender, however you identify as, if I feel like you're a great person and I can help you, I'm going to help you, right? Obviously there's that intentionality to making sure that, people of color have that opportunity as well, right? Where traditionally where we've gotten left behind. And that's why, we are in the place where we're in terms of not having that diversity at the top. But, if I know a person and I knew they would do a great job and they need that access to a person or organization, yeah, I'm making that connection.
I can appreciate that. What drives you? This is hard work. Like I got friends that are in recruiting and placement and they be stressed out and they just, oh, so tired. And what drives you to keep going in an industry that can be pretty fatiguing?
Yeah, I think, there's a difference between, not say one is better than the other, but like a search firm who focuses more on the executive level than like staffing, which is just numbers, right? You're just trying to place as many people as you can at a client side, or just bill out. So we're not a staffing firm, right? So we can be pretty selective on the clients that we take on,
Mhm.
and the industries that we want to be in. And I go into industries that I personally have interest, that I know we can have an impact. So I don't get really frustrated, you know, in terms of that piece. Now, at the end of the day, when you do have a search and you are working with people, and so people do disappoint you, and
Who
whether
are
you
those people, Herb? Who did
you can have a great opportunity for someone, you go through the process, and at the last minute, like, oh, it's not for me. Like that's a big no-no for me. But um, but you can never predict what people are going to do, or how they're going to react in a situation with a client or whatever. So there is some piece of that is it can be fatiguing, but overall, when you're working with good people on the client side and on the candidate side, and when candidates and clients are appreciative of the work that you do
Mm.
and the impact that it's having on their organization, and then vice versa on the candidate, the impact that that's having on their life. It could be a promotion for them that they feel like they've been long overdue, or working for organizations that are aligned with them from a value standpoint. That is rewarding. And then that is that's like the coach in me, right? When you're coaching a team and with players, and you get them to be able to play a certain way and do things the way that you want to in your program, and you get it there, and then it's like, what, they appreciate you, right? And so that for me supersedes everything, right? When you have those type of placements and working with those type of clients.
What gave you the audacity to think you could be a business owner? Where did that come from?
That's a great question. You know what? I don't know where that came from. I knew I was ready for a change, and naturally I'm a risk taker. Um, I felt like if it didn't work out, I was still young enough in my career where I could do something else. It wasn't capital intensive to start this organization. So thus far in this our journey, we've all been internally funded. Like I don't have outside investors or anything like that. Um, so I don't know where that confidence came from or why I thought it would work. And my dad is a banker. He's a retired banker. My mom's a librarian, and she kind of worked with a lot of small businesses. And so I know the success rate for small business, especially first time, uh, business owners, it's not that great, right? And so it was a risk, as it was a chance, but it was something that I was just passionate about. I'm passionate about hiring. I'm passionate about the talent acquisition process, and I knew if I launched it the right way and it had a certain look, and my competitors don't have my background, that I had a chance to stand out, right, or be different, and just offer a different perspective and lens that currently wasn't in the market. So that was my, I would say, uh, I guess, confidence, to thinking that it could work. But to your point, I've never started a business before. I was a coach, so I think there was skill sets that I had that I didn't know I had, and I think one thing sports does teach you is to be resilient, right? You do face failure a decent amount, and I think I was ready for that if it did happen. And if I did fail, how was I going to learn from it? Uh, and so I think it's always taking those opportunities to say, hey, you know what? It's not the worst thing in the world if I do fail, but if I do fall on my face, how am I going to bounce back? What are the things I need to do to be better? I think that's always something in the back of my mind that I'm always evaluating is how can we be better?
Mm.
How can we keep moving forward? And that is, I think that's critical for any.
So speaking of your look, I wanted to make sure everybody had a look at your site.
Thank you.
And take the time to, browse the site, get some information. I really wanted to talk to you though about your team because
Mhm.
you mentioned relationships, and I want you to tell me your relationship with these people. It's such a diverse group of people. Where do you get these
Yeah,
from?
absolutely. Yeah, so, you know, Kelly, I think it was the first one. So I got introduced to him right when I started the firm. So I didn't know him prior. He had a long stint at the NCAA. He did his own consulting. People in the industry say nothing but great things about him. So, one thing that I do my homework on people, and he just, no one ever had a bad thing to say about him, and those are the people that you want in your organization. And he has a skill set. He's very detailed oriented. I'm very big picture, so he compliments me in that way, and we just hit it off. And he kind of is kind of with me, and about 6 months in, and he's been a great person to have on our team. Uh, so Gigi was our second hire, and
This is important because it's very critical that people don't just talk the talk, but they walk their talk.
yeah,
Having someone at the top that does not look like them, it is a woman, I can definitely appreciate based on some of the things that you've said. So, Gigi.
Gigi, yes. So Gigi also didn't know prior to starting the firm. She was recommended to me by one of my friends. His name's Chris Walker. Uh, he's at CBS, and she did a lot of projects for him. She wanted to get into the sports space before. Before that, she was working at a nonprofit in on the finance sector. She was a high school athlete. She played in college. So she was very passionate about getting into the sports industry. So
Mm.
she just a go getter. I loved her drive. She's very engaging. I think she has a ton of potential. She's younger in her career, but I think she could be. There's just not a lot of women of color in the search space. I think she could be one of the best people in search. Period. I think that's her ceiling. So I'm so happy that she's on our team, and she's been for the last year. She's been great.
And here you go. We won't go through everyone, but I wanted to get to the point about relationships.
Yeah.
How do these people are people that you've known or were recommended to you, right?
Mhm.
I think many times people don't understand, professionals don't understand that relationships that um, relationships that you build, you never know what they're going to turn into.
Absolutely.
One of the things we talk about in public relations and relationships with journalists, PR people having relationships with journalists, the first time you meet them, it shouldn't be an ask.
Yeah.
Some people really struggle with how do you build a relationship that's sustainable over time. Kind of talk to me about that and how that has been able to contribute to the success of your organization.
Absolutely. I think that's the biggest thing, right? Is that relationship piece and being authentic with it, right? And I think at the end of the day, we all have an agenda, right? If an MBA team or college organization, if I'm reaching out to them, we have no relationship. Obviously, I want to get to know them for a reason, but how can we do that organically and naturally? And I think the biggest thing where I lead office is I just want to get to know them, right? I want to get to know them as a leader. I want to get to know them as an organization before I ask anything, right? I want them to understand our purpose and what we do, and then just build from there. And then from that, first couple of conversations, that will let me know how I need to manage that relationship. Is it, hey, is that someone that I need to reach out every 2 to 3 weeks, or is that more of like a quarterly call and I'm updating them on certain things? Or, I always love, if I read something or an article, even something as simple as a birthday, right? Where it's just like, where you're just having these touch points, these authentic touch points, and you're never asking for anything, right? And then the relationship just evolves from there. So it is an art. I like, it is an art. And you have to be able to navigate that and take certain cues from people and read body language. And do you take them out for dinner or coffee? And and just talk. You don't want to talk about business all the time. I want to get to know them, their family, whatever, right? So it's definitely an art to doing it, but if you know how to navigate that, it's going to make life a lot easier for you in terms of getting business. And then down the road, they feel comfortable because you built that trust over
Yeah.
time.
I like that. Now, let the people know how they can stay in touch with you, maybe get in touch with you if they need your services. If they don't know if they need your services, how do they know if they're doing a good job with diversity in their organization? Kind of talk through that and then how they stay connected with you.
Yeah, I think in terms of understanding where they are as an organization, you got to talk to your people. Hopefully they've done some type of survey or um, some type of metric where they're monitoring or measuring employee engagement and all that good stuff, where do people feel have a sense of belongingness and psychological safety within the organization? Do they feel supported? Like, that's all the things that they should be doing to understand where they are and if they do need outside help. And then obviously, if you're just looking from a metric standpoint, how are they hiring? Is their workforce diverse? Have they had trouble attracting, more importantly, retaining, diverse talent? Because that's a whole nother issue. So I think taking a deep dive into that will help them understand, yeah, I need help, right? Because some companies naturally do it very well, some don't. It just kind of depends how you're set up. So yeah, I would suggest that. In terms of how to getting in touch with me, obviously on my website, therscfirm.com. I'm very active on LinkedIn, so just Herb Courtney, and then my company name, Renaissance Search and Consulting. You can always shoot me a note there. Um, you know, and our contact information is on the website as well. So those are all different ways you can get to me.
You're not like a social media person.
I
I
know.
I was like, "Where's he at? Where I have something to tweet him and he's not here."
You know what? I outsource that. I am naturally not a social media person at all. It just doesn't come natural to me. I'm a very I don't know, quiet at heart, I guess. Like private. So I don't really share a lot, but so yeah, I'm not super active on the Twitters and Instagrams, but I'll post every now and then, or I'll give the okay to post something. But yeah, I know I'm not.
That's funny. It's okay to be a social media introvert.
Yeah, it's okay,
Totally
right?
okay. It's totally okay. So, again, I appreciate you taking the time to let the people know about your firm. I did want to ask you, though, those tools that you were talking about, right? There
Hmm.
are companies that don't even know these tools exist, lesson on how to get their hands on them to find out employee satisfaction or if they're doing a good job or not in diversity and inclusion in their organization. Can you tell people where they can find some of these tools that can help them talk to their employees? Because that's the other thing. They don't know how to talk to their employees to even ask the questions because most of them probably scared of the answers.
Yeah,
So, and
yeah.
there's that.
There is that piece. You know, there's a lot of HR softwares I'm sure they could use. I would always suggest sourcing that out to a DEI practitioner that could do more of a deep dive. And obviously anyone can reach out to me. I do have practitioners that I have worked with, because when I work with organizations, I'm not a practitioner. I don't do the surveys and the mediations and all that good stuff, right? But I do know people that do it at a very high level. So I would do your research and just locally, wherever you are, see who's out there, and who comes highly recommended in that space. Or you could just do a more traditional, like an HR software that monitor that for you.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you. Thank you for spending the time. Thank you for talking to us, teaching us a little bit about what you do and how you are making this world a better place. Because, yes, the more diverse our organizations are, the more profitable they are, and the better they perform because
Yeah.
they're not functioning in a box, in a bubble. They're functioning with diverse opportunities for people to learn, grow, and serve the communities that they are selling to. So, with that being said, thank you so much. I appreciate you, and please stay in touch.
I will. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you. So, listen, y'all, make sure that if nothing else, he has some great blogs on there on his site. He has some just great information, right? We can never be too informed, we can never be over educated. Like, that's not even a thing. And a lot of what he does could help you in your own business and in your own opportunities. If you're seeking new opportunities, see what some of those things are that you could be doing to improve who you are as an employee, or ideas that you can even implement in your own business. Listen, leaders and learners are here for people that do both, not just one. Okay. You lead and you learn. You have to continue to educate yourself, find new ideas and ways to get things done, because at the end of the day, it makes your organization better and it enhances you as a professional. So, again, thank you for being here. I always appreciate it. If you have any show ideas too, and there's someone that you want to see on the show, or an organization, a business that you would love to hear, talk about what they do and how they're making things better, let me know. I got you. Herb, his firm right down here, check it out. Don't waste this 30 minutes, 40 minutes, or whatever. Do something that's going to improve your life, that's going to improve your business, that's going to improve your business life, your professional life, your social life. All those things are cool. Learn how to be a diverse individual, right? Don't be in a box. So thank you for being here. We'll see you again soon. If there's anything you need, you know how to get in touch with me. Tanya McKenzie PR on all social media platforms, or Sand and Shores. Guys, I'll see you next time.